Have you faced childhood trauma that you think is just impossible to overcome? Or are you facing trauma right now that you feel like is just insurmountable? Today, I'm going to share with you how my dad's suicide attempt taught me how to save a life, and that there is no situation, there are no circumstances beyond God's reach. And no matter what you're facing right now or what you have faced in the past, God can heal your heart. He can make it like new, and He can show you how to use that trauma to help someone else. This happened right around 1975, so a while ago, and probably during the worst years of my father's alcoholism. He came home on a Saturday afternoon, very, very drunk, which was not unusual, but he was quiet and calm, which was unusual. And he just walked past my mom, who was sitting on the couch, and headed for the bedroom. So she didn't think much of it. She thought he was probably gonna go in there and pass out like he normally did after heavy, heavy drinking. And she was probably just glad that he wasn't trying to pick a fight with somebody, which is what he was usually doing. When he was that drunk, he was belligerent and argumentative and so forth and so on. After a few minutes, it was really quiet, so she walked back to the bedroom just to check on him. And she walked into the room, and he was sitting on the bed cleaning a gun. And she said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to shoot myself." So rather than argue with him, which she knew was probably not going to help, she went back to the couch and sat down. She was shaken, but she sat there for a minute just thinking about what the next best thing would be to do. She decided to go back to the bedroom to check on him again, and when she looked in, he was passed out on the bed. So she took the guns and she hid them. If I remember correctly, she put them in the trunk of her car and locked them in there, all of them, so that he had no immediate access to them. And she went back and sat down on the couch again to smoke a cigarette, which was the way that she calmed down, and probably had the television on and was just sitting there gathering herself when she heard him get up and go to the bathroom. And pretty soon she could hear him vomiting in the bathroom, which again wasn't unusual when he had been drinking that much. But the vomiting, it just didn't stop. It was just going on for way too long. So she went in to check on him and found him on the floor vomiting up blood. So she somehow was able to get a hold of our family physician. I'm not sure how, because I know it was a weekend, she was not at work, and found the dose of suppository, what the highest dose would be that she could give to him, because he did have suppositories in the fridge, because he frequently vomited from drinking too much, but usually not to the point where he was vomiting blood. So she found out what the maximum dose was that she could give to him, and went back in the bathroom and somehow talked him into taking the suppositories, and that stopped the vomiting and calmed him down, as they do. So she helped him get undressed and told him to get in the bathtub, that he was going to take a bath and she was going to help him go to bed. So he was compliant and he got in the bathtub, and she turned on the faucet and He seemed coherent enough to turn off the water when the bathtub was full, so she went back into the living room, sat down on the couch again, probably to smoke another cigarette to calm down again. And all of a sudden, he just started screaming bloody murder, just screaming at the top of his lungs. So she ran back to the bathroom to see what was wrong, and he was curled up in the end of the bathtub, saying that there were snakes coming out of the faucet. So obviously he was hallucinating. Somehow she managed to get him calmed down again, ran the bath water, and helped him get bathed and get out of the bathtub, get his pajamas on, and go to bed, where he fortunately slept until the next morning. And I was so struck by my mom's calm demeanor in that few moments, which probably was about an hour and a half total. Her courage, her steadfast ability to just be stalwart and handle it. She faced it head on. And of course, she was upset about it. And later, I think I remember her crying and being upset, which would be normal. But in the moment, she didn't blink. She didn't waver. And that had such an impact on me. And of course, I was traumatized by the fact that he tried to commit suicide. I wasn't home at the moment. But that's very upsetting for any child to know, even though I was almost an adult by that time. It was still very upsetting. I knew his alcoholism was getting worse, and I was very, very concerned about him, as we all were. Later, my dad did recover and went on to live several healthy, sober years and happy years, and I'm so grateful for that. Years later, I was helping a friend declutter some closets, which was kind of my specialty. I love to clean and I love to declutter. And I was in one of the closets that we were working on, and she wasn't there at the moment. She was in the living room. And I could hear some loud voices and, a little bit of commotion going on. And so I was just praying quietly in the closet, and I was trying to figure out, if I should go or stay or calm down a little bit. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to keep cleaning. And I went back into the bedroom, and then into another closet, and then back into my original closet. And when I entered that closet, the first one that I had been in, her son was in there, and he was crying, and he was just kind of frantically looking for something. And I knew that obviously he was upset. I knew that he had recently been released from rehab for substance abuse. I knew that he had relapsed. I knew that he had wrecked the car, and that things weren't going well for him at that moment. And I just put my arms around him, and I just told him that everything was going to be okay. I reassured him just like any mother would reassure her child, although he wasn't my child, but he needed comforting at that moment. And I just held him, and he cried, and I told him this was going to pass. These were just a few moments in his life, and even though everything seemed really dark right now, this wasn't going to last forever, that this was going to pass. Things were going to get better. Everything was going to be okay. There were solutions, and just not to panic, not to worry, just try to take a deep breath. And pretty soon he dried his eyes, and he composed himself, and he thanked me, and gave me a hug, and he just went back out into the living room. So I just kept cleaning and praying, and things were quiet. And pretty soon he came back into the room, into the closet, and he said, "Miss Sally, do you know what I was doing in here?" And I'm like, "No, I knew you were upset, so I just wanted to comfort you and let you know that everything was going to be okay." He said, "I was looking for my dad's gun and I was going to shoot myself." And I was actually a little taken back, but I didn't show it. And I just looked him in the eye and I said, "Not today. You are not going to take your life today. What you're going to do is you're going to call your sponsor. You're going to get back on track. You're going to call the treatment center about aftercare. And after you've done those things, you're going to go to a meeting. But you're not going to take your life today." And then I told him again, "You are a wonderful young man. God has a beautiful plan for your life, blessings that you can't even imagine. And you're going to be around to see those blessings unfold." And he just hugged me again, and he just held me so tight. And he said, "If it wasn't for you being in that closet today, I would have killed myself." And I think I might have decided that. Of course, I hugged him, but I thought to myself, yeah, it might be time to go home now. I think you've done enough decluttering for the day. So I just hugged him again, told him I loved him. I was going to be praying for him. I was there for him if he needed anything, anytime. Just reach out to me. And that young man is still alive today. He's gone on to have children. I don't know much about the details of his life right now because I'm not in touch with him. But I know that he's alive. I know that he lived. And I know that it was my mom's courage that day that showed me what to do in that kind of situation. Now, obviously, that's not the be-all and end-all of how to handle someone who's talking about taking their life. I mean, there are resources that might need to be called, and I'm not saying that it's the only answer, but I know without a doubt that God had me in the closet that day. Because why else would I even be there on that particular day for that particular moment to be there when he was looking for a gun? The only answer is that the Lord had me there. And I just marveled at the fact that my mom's example of facing that traumatic event in her own life, and what was a traumatic event for our family, even if it was just emotionally hearing about it, shortly afterwards, God used that. And I know he used that to intervene in that situation that day. So it doesn't matter what kind of trauma you've faced as a child, as a young adult, or maybe even you're facing right now, God has solutions for you, and he can heal your heart, and he can put it back together, and he can help you. He has answers, I promise you. He always, always has the answers that we need. If you like what we're doing here at Faith Forward Coaching, I would love it if you would hit the like button and subscribe so that you can get all the videos that will be coming out in the near future. There's a link in the information below that you can click on for a free document that will help you walk through any situation you're struggling with right now be it a loved one's alcoholism or addiction, or really any problem that you're facing. And you also can get a 20-minute discovery call with me, and I can help you walk through that process. Be sure you reach out to me in the comments. You can leave me your prayer intentions. I'll be glad to pray for you. I promise I will pray for you. And I will definitely be back in touch soon. So thanks for listening, and talk to you later, guys. God bless. Bye.